So should we go ahead and just talk about this movie?
What I'm about to say is there's not a lot to talk about, but at the same time, there is a
A
lot to
lot to
talk
talk.
about.
Now, see, I was telling Gabe just before the show, I kind of had an accident where uh I knew that even if we were able to do a rewatch today, that I probably wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm like, I need to get this in like on my own time. And I hit the wrong button because all of these Leprechaun movies are on Stars right now for some reason because it's not even March. But I mean, it's like all of the Warwick Davis ones, and then all of like the newer ones without him are on there. Like every single one is on there right now.
I wonder who the rights holder is then. Huh.
but my thumb slipped and I accidentally put on Leprechaun 4 in space. And if you've ever watched that movie, whether you like it or hate it, you're just kind of like, I'm gonna see this through to the end. And and then I also watched a bunch of other rankings and ratings and all these other things that talked about all of the Leprechaun movies. So I've got one giant jumbled Leprechaun mess in my head that I'm gonna just try to scrape away everything except for three. I know way more than I expected to know going into this.
I mean, it happens.
Now, without, I don't want your score just yet, but out of curiosity, is a national treasure. Um, Out of curiosity, like when I first made this list, I said there's probably only going to be one movie, hopefully, that goes below a 2.5, and this is that movie. Now, surprisingly, I didn't think it was as bad as I thought it was going to be. Now, it wasn't as good as I thought, or it wasn't unexpectedly amazing. Let's put it that way. But it wasn't terrible. It was it was like a this is a fun little timeout from serious business.
I will say, in hindsight, that the first one is what it is. I mean,
The first one's cute.
it's got, no pun intended, charm to it. The second one is an absolute steaming pile of dog shit.
See, I love the second one. I think the second one's like the best of the bunch in terms of like trying to be a legitimate movie that just happens to have an evil leprechaun.
All right, let me take a step back there. That was based off of my one time watching it 4 years ago.
Hmm.
Because I think I told Ian before the show, we watched the first three in the one of the horror fests, and our average score of the movie of all of the movies were of those three was like a 30 out of 100. I mean, it wasn't very was very confident building, but I don't remember that much about two, so maybe I do need to go back and rewatch it with a drive-in muscle lens to it. But the third one was very weird to me because I do remember that I enjoyed it, but I was like, this is absurd. Why are we spending time watching this? And then this time, I think it was just what the doctor ordered.
It was that right set, like that right level of not taking itself seriously, kind of Looney Tunes humor, but it had a couple of chances to go over the top and just be like, oh. But it seemed to go right there and then it wouldn't cross. So it's like you were still in it, even though you were like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, but it's not terrible.
It it's the equivalent of a show that you watch that you know by reputation. And that can go either way. The difference is it's pretty obvious what it is. I mean, it's Leprechaun in Vegas, but there's something endearing about that because it makes a lot of sense. for him to be in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because that makes no sense on its own, but think about it. Pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There are literally slot machines that I think are called Lucky Pot of Gold that you spend, all day at.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And plus, like, all of the other ones that we got, like Jason in Space, well, I think that they didn't really take Freddy out of Elm Street. I mean, they kind of did in 6, but they used it under the guise of every town has an Elm Street. So it's just like, all right, so as long as I got Google Maps, I can just stay away from you. But of all of the character, like, taking the fish out of water, I mean, not even, okay, Jason in Space is ridiculous, not to say, because I mean, they did that in Leprechaun in the very next movie, but even just putting him in New York, like, I mean, now we broke down how that could have been a much better movie, but we're going off what was actually made. This Leprechaun being in Vegas seems to make the most sense and be like, it works the best out of fish out of water for the killer.
Yeah. And the movie starts you in the middle of the action too, which I think is good for that kind of thing.
One thing that I didn't pick up on that I thought was really funny, and this is actually like borderline Naked Gun humor, was like I said, I watched a lot of videos on the Leprechaun series in the last few days, and it was pointed out, and I missed it the first time, but I totally get it now. So in that very beginning, that guy that comes into the pawn shop, that's like he's got the word lucky tattooed on his hand, but he looks homeless. He's missing an eye. He's limping. He looks like the most unlucky person you've ever seen. And I was just like, all right, like, it's the little things, but it works.
It's like a tall guy named Tiny.
Exactly.
Which we got with the last movie.
No. Yeah, we did, didn't we? But one thing that I would like to do, we're gonna, and unfortunately, it would require us to watch all of the Leprechaun movies, which, yeah. But I also was pointed out to me, everybody could nitpick maybe small little continuity things between Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween. Apparently, the continuity for Leprechaun, they just threw that shit out the door. Because, like, the first movie happens at this time, but then you get to the second movie, and the setup for that is he's been asleep for 500 years, so he couldn't have been in the first movie. And then in space, apparently he's been in space for 500 years. So how did the first 3 movies happen? So, like, the idea is that even though it's Warwick Davis the whole time, that it's a different Leprechaun.
I was about to say, it's bad if Full Moon Pictures has better continuity than literally anyone else. Holy shit. All right.
So I might want to traverse down that rabbit hole just to see how bad it is.
I mean, it could be like maybe this is the well, I wouldn't really call it a Mendoza line, but this is kind of like our Mendoza line. Like, you deep dive and you find an American rickshaw.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, there's no way a movie called American Rickshaw is going to make me feel anything less than meh, or more than meh, rather. And then we watch it and we go, okay, that's the best thing I've ever seen. Moving on.
I'm waiting, D. I'm waiting for Warwick Davis to show up in the MCU. I'm pretty sure he hasn't. I think as far as I know, the only I don't know what term they prefer anymore these days. I don't want to say little person, but people who are vertically challenged. The only one that I know of that was in the MCU was Peter Dinklage, and I thought that it was I thought it was hilarious, but in a very positive way. That Peter Dinklage in real life is probably the smallest person amongst all of those cast members, but on the screen he's the largest character. Like the only time he gets beat in size is when Ant-Man goes giant.
Yep. And that's not fair
Yeah.
because he used performance enhancing drugs to get there.
Exactly, exactly. But where is my I forget what his name was, but he played the guy at the Star that built Stormbreaker for Thor. But I would like to see him versus the Hulk.
That would be awesome.
Yes. But Warwick Davis is all jokes aside is really a tremendous actor. Um I'm pretty sure that the first thing he did was Return of the Jedi. I don't think he did, unless he did like a kids commercial or something that I'm unaware of. But um, he played Wicket in Return of the Jedi, the adorable little Ewok. Even though some people hate the Ewoks.
I think they're fun.
Yeah, they're better than porgs, but because at least the Ewoks can battle. the
That's
porgs,
true.
the porgs just get eaten by Chewie. Hate them both, but I get it. Yep. Um, but I know he was obviously the main dude. He was Willow in Willow. Which I saw the trailer for the new one. I think I mentioned it before, but it was surprisingly like it looks like awesome. The trailer was I'm like, this is fucking Willow. But
I
that looks exciting.
I missed the trailer, but I told you I've stopped watching trailers for the most part
Mhm.
because the last couple of times it's been y'all really
Yeah,
showing this stuff. I don't care if it's out of context. I don't want to know what happens.
I'm trying to think about because I remember that I had the idea in my head. Oh yeah, there's going to be a new Willow. The trailer's already out. D, look it up. It looks crazy awesome, surprisingly. Um, but there was I've had a bad go of trailers. I agree with you because like a lot of the times when I see a trailer and I'm like, this looks really, really, really good, and then I'll get to the movie and I'm like, it's not as good as the trailer made it out to be, and half the stuff that is in the trailer, you're right, is not in the movie. So I'm trying to think. I feel like the only time I think lately that I saw a trailer that interested me, and then when I saw the movie, it was better than the trailer. Oh, that's what it was. That's right. I did mention it. The Chip and Dale movie, the new one.
Mm.
And I was like, it's stupid that it's that, but it's like those people really knew what they were doing. I will sing the praises of that movie till the end of time.
I
But
still need to watch it. It looks good.
but Warwick Davis, let's see here. And then he did and then he's been in they put him in Star Wars a bunch. He's kind of like their go-to guy. I like when he hosts his little panels at their Star Wars celebration. He's kind of like the funny guy. Um but then he had I forget what the character's name was, but he was in the Harry Potter series.
Mm-hmm.
Um but the Leprechaun series seems like something. I'm not gonna say that Warwick seems like he's like the type that would be like I'm too good for that, but I mean, look at the resume, and then how do you put Leprechaun in there? Star Wars, Harry Potter, well, Leprechaun.
I wonder if it's like well, hell, put it just to play off of last week. I wonder if it's like Viggo Mortensen or Peter Jackson, where it's like they have a soft spot for horror movies or horror comedy, dark comedy, whatever you want to call it, and he's just like, I would be insulted if you didn't ask me to play as the Leprechaun. I love that.
Yeah,
Let's take the Lucky Charms commercial and turn it on its fucking head and see what comes out.
true. And I know that there's and I get it. I mean, I get it at least as much as I can because I'm not in the situation where I have a condition that would make me that short. In fact, I'm rather tall and it's quite annoying. Um,
It
but
really
uh,
is.
but I know that I've heard that certain people like that, where if you go to ask them, like, "Hey, do you want to be a leprechaun? Do you want to be an elf? Do you want to be a dwarf?" Like they, even it makes sense, but like they'll be offended. Like they go out of their way to not do. They feel it's demeaning, which I totally understand that. I'm not saying that they're wrong for like it's person by person. I get it, but and I even feel like I think Peter Dinklage is like that. Like, I mean, he did Game of Thrones. Like, there are certain things where it's like if it makes sense for the character, he'll do it, but he's not gonna do it for the novelty of like I'm an elf, you know? Because like he was one of the best parts of Game of Thrones
Oh
until
yeah.
they were unable to write him smart. But that's not his fault. Um, but everything that he's done, I mean, he's a fantastic actor. So I mean, it doesn't matter like his size. Like I don't see his size when I see him act. I just see him acting. Um, but Warwick, man, like this seemed like this whole series seemed like it was just his holiday. Like he's like, I have to do all like the important stuff, but then it's like, I get to go back and do some goofy shit.
A blow off steam kind of
hmm
movie.
And like I'm wondering if he had any input on the rhymes.
I want to get the Blu-ray set now just to watch the behind the scenes stuff because I gotta know, was there an actual script, or did he ad lib the whole thing?
And it's like he it's not like I have like a whole list of like people with that condition in my memory banks. I can only think of maybe three or four, but uh I can't imagine anybody else being the leprechaun. Like Warwick has such a unique voice and it works so well with that leprechaun character that
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I mean, Peter Dinklage, I mean, this was before, well, I don't think it was before. I don't really know how old he is, but I don't think Peter Dinklage was in line to fucking either be the leprechaun or to even watch the movie. But he's got a very deep voice. So like I can't imagine him doing the role. At the same time.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Mhm. But I mean, at least he owns everything that he does though. Like he very much like I said, like I as goofy as that series is, I can't see anybody. Like I said, I've yet to watch any of these new Leprechaun movies that don't have him in it, and it's like I kind of want to see it just because it doesn't have him in it, but it's my expectations are very low because he's not in it, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, he is the driving factor for those movies because we talk about owning roles a lot, and that's one that if you took him out of it and replaced him with somebody else, it wouldn't feel the same.
Yeah.
If there is one thing I can compliment the franchise on up through part 4, it is the fact that I I would watch it just for Warwick Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it, you could just trim the rest of the movie and just include the scenes that he was in, and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, at the very least, he's definitely having fun. I mean, I think it would be impossible to give the performance that he gave without having fun. Like, if he was miserable, he wouldn't have been able to deliver the lines the way that he does. And
With such charm.
yeah, and but he's a family man too. His kids are in Star Wars now. His whole family is like kind of in on everything because I believe because he's in the scene in the Solo movie
Hmm.
and then I believe that there's someone standing beside him, and it's his son. And I believe his son also is tiny. I could be wrong. It just might have been a kid. I'm not sure. I'm not allegedly. I don't know.
All right. We're bringing back the allegedly button.
You start a web. Exactly. Like, why would he have done so many of them if he hated it? Right. Yeah, yeah, we need to get Warwick in there. I'm trying to. Well, you know what? Okay, to be fair, there was. I don't know how game he would be for this. So when they were getting, when Infinity War hadn't come out yet, and everybody was rumor milling it, uh, word got out that Peter Dinklage was going to be in it. Now, if you're familiar with the comics, there is a character, a part of the story, although not major, but he is in there. There's a character named Pip the Troll. And I thought everybody thought that that's what he was going to be, not what he ended up making. I mean, I'm really glad that he was who he was. He did not need to be Pip the Troll, but that could be a Warwick role. Like I said, he's not really like doing anything totally different. I mean, it's not evil. He's not, but he could do that. I could see him doing that, or at the very. What if I'm just throwing this out there? What if Warwick was Modoc? It's like, hmm. I mean, I'm trying to think of a legitimate MCU movie that they could use Modoc because that is a ridiculous character. But
Hmm.
hmm.
That's that'll be a Discord project. We'll put a new thread out there and just what character can we throw Warwick Davis into perfectly to get him into the MCU?
Yes. I'm trying to think. Really, the main things that stand out in Leprechaun 3 to me is aside, I will never forget the pogo stick death as long as I live. Um, but I the thing that I really didn't see coming was the dude getting the leprechaun AIDS. It, it was so weird. Like nothing like that happens in the first two. Like there's some zany moments in the first two. This movie was just like whatever, dude.
This movie took the rule book and said, "What? It's a Leprechaun movie. There's never been rules," and
Yeah.
just chucked that bitch into the ocean, and that's okay.
But like I loved how he was like turning into this like crack-headed beast boy. Meaning the Titans character Beast Boy, not just a generic Beast Boy. Because his skin is green. But he just he was rhyming when I love that you have to rhyme. That's part of the infection.
I thought, I they called each other brother in the movie, and I thought that was there was some comedy gold when Leper AIDS went into the restaurant and ordered every form of potato that he could. Like, you want to talk about one of the most stereotypical insulting things that you could probably do in a movie, and it was totally fine in there. And I was like, you know what? I like potatoes too, man. Throw on some potato cakes. Arby's, bring back your potato cakes too. I'm ready to go full Irish on this bitch.
Um, the I don't know why. Um, I think if I'm allowed to be just a total dude for a second, um, I the main girl Tammy, I believe her name was. Um, I don't know what it was, but she caught my eye. She's kind of a looker. She caught my eye, and I went to look her up, and there's very little information about her. She did like one or two other things that like were on par with Leprechaun, I believe. But I think Leprechaun 3 is her like crowning achievement, and that's kind of sad because she was kind of cool.
She was the part, and pardon my memory here. She was the one who went to the floor manager's room, and he had all of the sex toy shit all over his apartment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was good.
Oh
She
yeah,
was
she
good.
was good. Yeah, no, I'm not saying anything bad about her. She was good. Like I said, I wish she was in more stuff. She's a good looking lady there. Um, but she had that. It was weird because she was supposed to like have all of this like Vegas knowledge, I guess, for lack of a better term. Like nothing in Vegas should surprise her, but yet she was able to convey this weird, innocent naivete, if you will. And it was just like you really are kind of like the wholesome girl, but you're really not. It was weird, but it was good.
She was dressed like Barbara Crampton in From Beyond, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Google right now and type Barbara Crampton From Beyond, and you'll know exactly what I mean. That was so weird because when you're right, when she's first on camera, she is very naive. She almost seems like an outsider to Vegas for being a
You're probably not wrong, Dave.
probably not wrong. But she had an outsider feeling that that Leper AIDS was supposed to have because he truly was an outsider, but they both were. It was really weird, but honestly, can't believe I'm gonna say this. That was one of the most well acted and well written pieces of the movie because of that juxtaposition against what we would expect from a Vegas native, which is, well, watch any movie that takes place in Vegas and you know exactly what that's like.
What's weird is that now I know we're not talking Leprechaun in space, but
Well,
um I don't want to say the main girl, because the main girl in Leprechaun 4, I believe, is the one that was Heidi in Home Improvement. Not Pamela Anderson, but the one that replaced her.
mm-hmm.
Um, but there's a princess in that movie that the Leprechaun kind of makes a deal with in the beginning, and she's kind of like his partner until they double cross each other. And she's dressed up similar to how Tammy is in 3, but completely different attitudes where Tammy's nice, kind of innocent and all of that stuff, but she's in Vegas, which doesn't make sense. Now, we're being in space at all for a Leprechaun movie doesn't make sense, but the woman, the princess, she is not a nice person. She's very evil. I mean, she doesn't really have any magical powers or anything. She's just a bitch. But
That's
I
a
mean,
magical power
yeah, I
in
was
and of
about to say
itself.
some people would classify that as a power. But she would have made more sense in 3, I think. And then Tammy should have been the princess in 4 because she could have. I mean, it would have been stereotypical damsel in distress, but you could make it so she kicks a little ass, so she's not totally like that. But it would have been funnier to me if you would have had the angry bitch princess from 4 be the Tammy in 3, because then it would be set up like wants nothing to do with the main guy, but he's totally he's oh she's so hot, like kind of like a Beavis and Butthead kind of scenario where he just idiotically follows her, and they both end up in this stupid situation with the leprechaun in Vegas. But it's just it would have caused a little tension in comedy, and they would have had to work together even though she didn't want to have anything to do with him. I think that would have been a little bit more, I guess, sensical. I guess I don't know, but I know that 4 wasn't really on the table at that point. Um, but apparently they did do something right because what year did this come out? 1995, I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
Of all the movies that were direct to video that year, that was the most successful one. It was the best-selling direct to video movie of 1995.
That's pretty impressive, honestly.
Yeah.
I, because you're oh god, at that point in the '90s, you were at peak Steven Seagal direct to video too, which I know they're not great. Actually, no, Steven Seagal up until like '93, palatable. After that, well, Sniper Spec Ops. Go watch it. He does that goofy knife shit.
Um, I think it was a smart move to go direct to video though, just because I mean, 95 Jurassic Park had come out not too long ago.
Yeah, that was
Within
'94, I think.
Yeah. So it's just like the original Jurassic Park is one of those movies that when it came out, like people talked about that shit for a long time. That didn't go away. Because it was a big achievement in cinematic history. I'll give it that. I'm acting like I'm some sort of Jurassic Park hater. I'm not. But um, it was a smart move. I just imagine that they were just like they watched Jurassic Park and they're like, there's no way this direct to video that shit. That's our only hope.
I think, in your because this is about the time Hellraiser went started going direct to video too.
Which one was the first one to go direct to video? Three or
Five.
five?
Or was it four?
Four?
Might have been four. It was 4 or 5 because I don't think 3 did. I think 3 went. I think 3 went to the theaters.
Was 4 the one that had the main dude and it was kind of like a crime drama kind of thing?
That was 5. We really liked 5.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
4 was space.
4 was space. All right, they had some really good Pinhead moments in it, but it was still a space movie.
But I think you're kind of in that sweet spot again, though, where you have a concept and you have a franchise too. You already have a franchise tag attached to it, where you know exactly what you need. You know how much Warwick Davis is going to cost each sequel. Every time you make a movie with the same actor, it's the same thing with voice acting. The pay is expected to be increased. They normally don't do it at a loss or at a pay cut. But you know how much money you need for him. You're not bringing in any new actors for it. So, or any old actors, I should say. So you're only bringing in new actors. And you potentially have everything in a central location. So Vegas exterior shots, probably cheap as hell for them to film. Everything else is interiors. You can probably make some cheap sets that way. Or
yeah,
if
a lot
casino
of
is closed, not that they ever do. But,
not yeah, I was gonna.
but if one's being renovated or something, you might be able to use their ballroom and make it look like a casino floor or something like that. Okay, we need a $10 million budget to do this to get it to theaters, or I'm going to give you $2 million and we're going to ship it direct to video, and all the wholesalers are gonna buy it because, okay, it's another movie in the franchise, and people love those franchise movies. It's not really a bad play at that point. I won't knock direct to video.
No, oh yeah, if it makes sense, do it because if you go to the theater, then that's a whole other ballpark, and you're not going to recoup anything hardly. And honestly, I would be genuinely surprised to find out how much of this movie was filmed in Vegas. Like, there's obviously shots of Vegas in it. Like, I'm not going to say there isn't, but I mean, think about that pawn shop. Think about the closets. Like, that could have been done anywhere. Like, nothing about that screamed Vegas. Like, we just know it's Vegas because they say it's Vegas.
And we suspend our disbelief enough to, okay, we'll jump on that bandwagon. That's okay.
Yeah. Just to spend 2 days, just like one night, just drive down the road to Vegas, and then another night where you're just like, get a couple shots in here. All right, we're done. Now let's do the other 80% back home.
And more than likely that would have been Second Unit that did that. And if they didn't have the budget for it, guerrilla filmmaking, baby. We're big fans of it around here.
All in all, it was entertaining. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I still feel, having only watched one, two, three, and four, I haven't seen any of the Hood ones, and I haven't seen any of the other ones that don't have Warwick Davis. So now, having seen one through four, I'm gonna go two at the top. And honestly, I think part of it, I might be a little biased, but there's that one character that I know it's not George Carlin, but he's doing his damnedest to try to be George Carlin. Uh, but so yeah, two, three, four, then one. And the only reason I'm putting in space above the original is just for the humor factor.
That makes sense.
I mean, his shillelagh turns into a lightsaber. They
I was
finally
watching
gave
immediately.
Warwick a lightsaber.
But not in the franchise he started in. Those sons of bitches.
I mean, who knows? He might have been one of them kids in the episode one with the helmet. He's tall enough. We needed it. Little Timmy called out, Warwick, hop in there.
I better get paid overtime for this.
Lucas! I've never wanted a Dennis the Menace parody with Warwick Davis and George Lucas so bad now.
Yeah, that's distracting me from scoring this movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm actually okay. So this is gonna get less than a 2.5, but it is not gonna sink as low as you thought. I will give it a flat 2 because it is average in a lot of aspects, but it does have a good humor factor on it. And we were talking about before the show, this movie is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 of the franchise. For a couple of reasons. One being that the humor is kind of drawn up in this one a lot. I mean, it is
A
making
lot
fun
more
of itself.
Yeah.
But it also has Caroline Williams in it, who has one of the best deaths in any horror movie, I would say, with her Botox blowing up. Which is, I mean, it's funny, and honestly, I think that predates, like those Learning Channel shows where people get too much Botox, and that became a whole internet thing of we poke fun at it, but they did it in '95, and it looked exactly the same. As horrible as that is, it looks exactly the same as the kind of thing that we would poke fun at now, and I think that that's pretty trailblazing in a weird way. But her death and the pogo stick death just kind of stick out. I mean, it's, I'm not going to say it's pure Kino, but at the very least it is. Having a shitty week, you want something to unwind on. You want something like this, Return of the Living Dead 2, something that doesn't take itself too serious. And maybe I was a bit harsh on it the first time around because we had to watch the first two back to back before we watched that one. But I think at 2 stars that is a valid entry into that franchise, and also something that I would probably watch again.
I think I'm gonna go 2.5. Oh, and it may just be because of Tammy, kind of. Like I'd watch it for her. But no, it has some humor. I laughed. Is it the best Leprechaun movie? Absolutely not. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I had fun.
And what more could you want from a movie that's called Leprechaun?
Yeah.